So, Kawaki, essentially the clickbait of the Boruto side of the Naruto franchise. Over the last 5 to 6 years, or at least ever since Kawaki was introduced in about chapter 24 or in the Vessel arc, persons I feel have tried to dissect the story. They're essentially constantly on the lookout for, where is the trigger point? What's gonna cause this man to actually, get to the point where we see him in the flash forward in episode 1 or manga chapter 1. And after manga chapter 58, despite whatever previous discussions we've had on Kawaki, which might be on the money or off the money, I think after chapter 58, a lot of persons now have a better or a clearer picture of where things are going to, fall apart where Kawaki's character is concerned. Not in a bad way, but specifically when it comes down to him becoming quote-unquote evil. Welcome everyone, Sanju Uchiha here, and welcome back to the channel. Naturally, I'm your host, Sanju Uchiha, the friendly neighborhood Uchiha. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. So, of course, this video will have spoilers for the recent chapter of the Boruto manga and the Boruto manga in general, so fair warning to anime onlys. But yeah, let's talk about it. Kawaki Uzumaki. Now, I think a lot of persons, when you cover Boruto or you follow Boruto, a discussion like this, I think it was inevitable after chapter 58, because honestly, that chapter, and if you haven't checked out my review or my live reaction stream, you can check that out. But I think after that chapter, for the most part, this discussion was inevitable, if I'm being honest, because while the chapter was excellent to me, it was great, it wasn't world-shattering as a lot of persons would say, but in terms of achieving what the chapter set out to do, I thought it was beautiful, didn't have much problems. But coming out of that chapter, one can naturally see that there is essentially the start of the downward spiral of the relationship between Boruto and Kawaki, or at least Kawaki and Team 7 in general, when it comes down to their philosophies, their ideologies, what they think is best moving forward in terms of acquiring power and protecting those they love. So, and that was on display in the chapter, as during the chapter we had Team 7 and Kawaki disagreeing about, what was the best way to prepare for Code. And even though the specific topic was how to prepare for Code, there are parallels and callbacks to the overarching theme of technology, previous generation versus new generation, refining and finding easier ways to actually do stuff. And that's the source of the conflict between Team 7 and Kawaki, because Kawaki at the present moment feels that the traditional ninja training isn't the most efficient way to actually progress in power and protect those you love, versus characters like Naruto and Boruto actually think the opposite. So, of course, it might seem simple on the surface, but that difference or that conflict in ideology really and truly informs the flash forward, I would say, from episode 1 or, manga chapter 1, where, as I said in the review, where Kawaki was essentially saying that the era of shinobi is over. So that's one of the things I really loved about the chapter, and I think it's going to play a major role going forward in terms of what's going to cause the breakup of Kawaki and Team Konoha. Of course, I'm expecting like a bigger, larger reason, but that is definitely going to be one of the factors that's going to play a role in Kawaki becoming, or defecting from Konoha essentially. So that's one thing I really love coming out of the chapter. Now, the other thing is that kind of ties in with, this is how Kawaki is going to become evil, is that coming out of the chapter, we saw that Kawaki, from, muscle memory, tried to absorb Boruto's, lightning jutsu via the karma that he previously had. But of course he doesn't have karma anymore, and we see him mentally think that, am I more dependent on karma than I think? And of course by the end of the chapter he says that he'll try to get stronger no matter what it takes. So I think those two things combined really inform us, the audience, or really hint at, they're like a timer has started in terms of when Kawaki is going to actually, go on to the antagonistic side. And I think most persons who will come out of chapter 58 will look at this as a very similar downward spiral, similar to Sasuke in part 1 of Naruto, where, you know, coming from the fight against Gaara, coming from the fight losing against Itachi, coming from waking up from that and fighting Naruto on the rooftop and the talk with Kakashi, and it was just this gnawing, inevitable spiral, downward spiral for Sasuke's character to actually leave Konoha. And I think a lot of persons, whether consciously or unconsciously, have actually picked that up out of chapter 58 when it comes on to Kawaki's character. Now, I can probably see a lot of persons say, yo, it's kind of like a copy and paste of that, but I mean, it's similar, but it's for different reasons. And this is something I've talked about when it comes on to Kawaki's character before, way before chapter 58, when I was theorizing in terms of, you know, saving Naruto from Baryon mode, and probably Boruto and Kawaki were going to disagree on what was the best way to actually, you know, take care of Naruto, when at least I thought Baryon mode was going to kill him. And I was kind of pushing for the theory that, you know, Kawaki was probably going to seal him or something, and there would be disagreements after that in terms of how to go about protecting Naruto and the village. So I guess in the grand scheme of things, I wasn't really far off, so that's good to know. So but yeah, I mean, all things considered, the difference in ideology and Kawaki's drive to actually acquire power by any means, it seems, or at least what has been hinted at by the end of chapter 58, I think are big indications, or at least it's indicating a start to the timer of Kawaki eventually leaving the village. Now, of course, we see that Kawaki is still going to try and give Team 7 and their methods to achieve power and protect the ones they love the benefit of the doubt. But obviously, as I said, as it's hinted, especially with the parallels to Sasuke's whole downward spiral in part 1, there is an expiry date for how long he's going to put up with that. And especially, it also depends on what's going to happen once they actually bump up and interact with Code and Ida. So it really depends on that as well. So that's one. I mean, I'm just looking forward to all of that. But I think we actually need to have this discussion because it's, as I said, inevitable. It just literally feels like a timer has started on how much longer Kawaki is going to want to, you know, do things Boruto and Team 7 and Naruto's way. And overall, it just goes back to what I've been saying for probably like over a year now, over the course of the last, I don't know, 2 to 3 dedicated Kawaki videos, where I always say that Kawaki isn't going to become evil, but there's going to be a difference in opinion, a stark contrast to, you know, how he feels things should be handled in terms of protecting, you know, the ones he loves or cares about, and that puts him in opposition to, you know, Boruto, Team 7, and he might adopt some extreme measures to actually achieve the quote-unquote peace and, you know, just maintaining the welfare of those he's come to love. So that's the thing at the end of the day. And I just think chapter 58 has basically started to show that in its purest form, even though it's probably might be surface level for now. But I see, you know, this whole conflict in ideology, you know, coming up again and just festering like a, I guess, a sore or something, or a wound, and eventually it's going to explode and will be basically in the middle of the conflict, in the middle of the flash forward that we got in episode 1 or chapter 1. So yeah, but anyway, let me know what you guys think. If I keep going on, I'm basically gonna be repeating myself in terms of what I'm trying to put across to you guys. So yeah, respect for tuning in. Let me know what your thoughts on what my thoughts are, I guess. And like, rate, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next Boruto discussion.